3 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon, the final day of July 2024, zipping right along, kids. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. Lots to get to on today's program. Day 3 of 4 of our preliminary rounds of voting. The best Gamecock sports moments of the 21st century. That's where we are, right? 21st.
Well, as fast as this year's flying by, century? I don't know anymore.
I don't know.
You just reminded me. I knew today was July 31st, but when it finally hit me that today's the last day of July.
Yeah.
And sitting in the studio talking about Alabama, Michigan in the playoff didn't feel like too long ago.
No.
Going into the first weekend of the season.
Or, Gamecocks making the men's basketball tournament. We kind of knew Dawn's team would. Then they went undefeated, which, by the way, you're voting on today.
Not on the bubble, yes.
Yeah. United States men are playing right now, speaking of Dawn Staley and just American basketball.
I didn't make that phone call.
What were you going to do?
I was going to encourage a friend of mine
to lay down a little bit.
In a state where it's a little legal, to lay a little bit down on the spread on this game.
You wanted USA minus 29.5.
The spready Mercury, if you will.
Yeah.
USA minus 29.5. Lay them. Lay those points.
Well, we'll see. Right now, there's no score.
Anthony Davis getting the start instead of Joel Embiid. Thank you, Steve Kerr. Thank you.
I feel like that's what's going to happen today. I don't know that we see Embiid. I mean, look, I like Joel Embiid. He's a very good basketball player.
A really good NBA player.
Yeah, but this game, I don't know. And again, he was clearly rattled by the crowd the other day. If you didn't hear about that, Joel was booed. I joke, but as I said to Elijah on Monday, every time he breathed, he was booed. But when he came off the bench, went back to the bench, touched the ball, passed the ball, anything, was at the line,
booed mercilessly.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Look at that.
A little bit of Fringlish.
Wow. But Joel holds passports from 3 nations, his native Cameroon, plus France, plus America. And chose not to play for Cameroon. Now, he said he wanted to play for Cameroon first, but he also knew that qualifying out of Africa, Cameroon had very little opportunity, and he was right. And again, that South Sudan has made it out of African qualifying is quite tremendous.
They don't duck the grind at all.
And so the French offered him residency and a passport. And he took it, and they thought that meant, oh, cool, he's going to play for us. And then when he became a naturalized American, a la Akeem Olajuwon, he said, oh, well, now I'll play for America. And then he made the team, because then you got to make the team.
Yep.
You do have to make the team. I don't know if Akeem had to make the team when he...
He just had to become a naturalized citizen, and then he will... He got the spot automatically as soon as everything was approved. He became.
I think it was
Team USA center.
I think they were okay with that. Yeah, you want to play?
No questions were asked.
No, not with Akeem. I know I've told the story before, man, but I'm telling you, my very first NBA game was the Houston Rockets at the Charlotte Hornets. I was a senior in high school, Christmas break. My buddy Andrew and I had corner seats about 3/4 of the way up, lower level. And I just, we got there a couple minutes late. And I just remember, just searching, scanning, and, just waiting to tell myself, there's Akeem. That's all I cared about, man.
Watching Akeem
I was seeing Akeem Olajuwon in person. It was great.
That's pretty cool.
It was great. First one. Again, a lot of fun up there back in the day. Our good friend Brad Muller will join us coming up bottom of the hour, like yesterday with Derek Scott. We'll talk with Brad about a couple of the moments that are up for vote today, which, by the way, we'll get to in just a second. Again, the Olympics are going on. I don't know some of the things that have happened today. I do know the United States women soccer team beat Australia, so they win their group and advance into the middle round. Again, United States men playing South Sudan right now. It is 6-0 America early. So we'll keep you updated on some of those things. I'm trying not to keep an eye on too much of the swimming.
I'd like to save that for prime time.
I'll try to watch some of that prime time tonight. Last night there actually were a few swimming races that I did not know the results of.
Same. I got to catch the men's 800 freestyle.
Yeah.
And that was a fun race.
Yeah.
That nice comeback. I can't remember the Irishman's.
Oh, the guy that won. Yeah, the Irishman. You know what?
That was an incredible comeback.
And a great story. When that guy said after the race, and they'd had the medal ceremony, I've never heard the Irish anthem in the Olympics. And I just, that's what the Olympics are about, I mean, we're spoiled in our country.
We win all the time.
Yeah. And I like that. I want to win as often as possible.
Beats the alternative.
But that was pretty cool. That things like that. That's why I love the Olympics. I mean, some people don't like them. I get it. But to me, it's like
this is awesome.
That was pretty cool, man. That was pretty cool when it's another, in a country that just doesn't do it very often. It's just hard.
It's rare.
Yeah, it's hard.
You know what I was really surprised by? I watched North Korea almost win a gold medal in ping pong or in table tennis last night.
Without getting too political, stick to sports. I probably won't ever find myself. Not to say you were rooting.
I didn't even know. No, absolutely not. But I didn't even know that they were allowed to participate. To leave.
I think right now the only two countries that are just completely banned are Russia and Belarus because of their stance and support of obviously the war against Ukraine.
Right.
So.
But I
only
didn't
two
even
that are
know
just banned.
North Korea sent athletes until I watched the gold medal match between China and North Korea.
I could sit here.
Doubles, though. Let me clarify. Right. Doubles table tennis, which looks like an absolute crowd. They don't stand as far back from the table as they do in singles, so I got a little claustrophobic watching it, but it was intense.
I could make some jokes, but I won't.
Oh, you know me. I got a whole book.
No,
I got to save them.
I'll leave it alone.
I got to save them off air.
Have you mentioned a minute ago that you were going to potentially maybe have a friend do a little something for you with this particular basketball game. Again, tomorrow, we talked about the Texans and the Bears and the much anticipated Hall of Fame game because, listen, nothing says Canton, Ohio like the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans.
That's right.
And then Elijah and I joked with each other yesterday during a commercial break. It's Texans -1.5.
They have a line.
And I said to Elijah, and he stopped me like halfway through. I was like, based on what? Cleaner uniforms?
Vibes.
Yeah, I mean,
someone hung out at both training
even at
camps,
the sports books, man. Like, what are they doing?
Vibes based.
Seriously, I mean, because they put science into everything. I understand that bookmaking is a science, not an art. But I just wonder, like, what do they like? Well, how do we? All right, who's got what here? Yeah, Jimmy, what you got there?
I think I really like the Bears group of backup offensive linemen. They've apparently really been competing in camp. That's going to help a little bit.
I mean, but
the secondary backups have been really bad. Oh yeah, they've been some training camp mishaps on special teams.
And how long has camp even been going on, man? Like a week?
If that.
I mean,
there's not even an episode of Hard Knocks out yet.
Are you a Hard Knocks fan?
It depends. Every now and then I'll get into it. I watched the Lions one.
I did too. That's the only one I've ever paid any attention because of Deuce. That was it. Only because of Deuce.
I watched it because of Dan Campbell because I love that man. No relation. Maybe we are. I don't know. Not confirmed.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. I mean, it's unconfirmed.
Probably somewhere back in the day.
Unconfirmed, but not known. But I root for him like he is family. So I do watch. So I did watch Hard Knocks. If one of us succeeds, we all succeed, baby. But I did watch that season of Hard Knocks and fell in love with the guy. I would play for Dan Campbell. I'd play for that guy. But there are a couple others where I just have zero interest. I watched a little bit of the Jets last year, and I was like kind of put off by just the feel of that team that I didn't finish the season. It felt so phony. It wasn't even.
It's the Jets, dude.
Real. Yeah.
It's the Jets. There's no other way to feel. I mean, everything. It's the Jets. Like I saw.
It's amazing how the brand almost dictates the humans.
Absolutely.
It's nuts.
I saw Aaron Rodgers complaining the other day about like how dudes were stepping on his foot and snapping the ball over his head and guys running like, just missing a ball that bounces off his hands and gets intercepted. And I was like, dude, you play for the Jets.
And also it's like, hey, these are some things that might be that could have been worked out. I'm sorry, this is the only opportunity you've ever had this entire offseason to get together with your teammates and get. Oh, wait.
Yes.
There was a mini camp.
No, there
probably could have figured some of this stuff out.
And then I see that Coach Salas says he's not going to play in the preseason.
Because he's still recovering from the Achilles injury that he said he would return.
Well, then what's he complaining
ended.
about practice? He's not even going to play.
Yeah.
The Jets.
Remember the
What's
time?
the over-under on the Jets win total this year?
Because that defense is so good, it's going to end up being like 10.5 or
No
11.
way under.
Because of the Jets.
How far would I go before I would say over?
That's the weird thing. Oh,
6.5?
maybe. Which would be easy money. That team, like the team around them, around Rodgers, is really, really good. But you have an aging quarterback coming off of a terrible injury.
Define really, really. I think the Chiefs are really, really good.
The Jets had like a top 3 defense in the NFL last year.
Okay.
They won, what, 7 games with Zach Wilson as their quarterback?
Jets, are you saying the Jets are to the NFL what Iowa is to the Big Ten?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Last year, they were the Iowa of the NFL, but didn't win as much as Iowa. Because Iowa still, mind you, is a 9 to 10 game winning team every single year, despite not acknowledging the forward pass.
Right. Or the need to score.
That's a school that had George Kittle at tight end for years and used him as a predominantly blocking only tight end.
Well, I give them credit. Like I've said, they've had 2 coaches since the Reagan administration. So there is a lot to be said for what Iowa is. And yet, sometimes they're still stuck somewhere else. But I think that Kirk Ferentz is too afraid to even remotely open up that offense because it might tax the defense at some point. I don't know. That's all I can think of. Like the old Bills. People don't realize how good the Bills' defenses were in the 90s, man. But the thing is, the offense was so prolific. The defense was out there because the offense just score, defense back out there. It's just and they're just you got to keep up. So anyway,
have you ever seen the clip of the Big Ten coaches talking about the stat they think is the most overrated? And a lot of these coaches are getting really into the weeds with stats, right? And Kirk Ferentz just goes total yards. And I'm like, there is no more of a fitting answer for a fitting coach and program than what I just heard right there.
Yeah. I mean, and I was going to say what I thought you were going to say TOP, and that goes back to my point about the Bills.
Time of possession also, very overrated.
Well, because, again, the Bills, like the defense was just out on the field more than because the offense could just score so quickly. That Jim Kelly offense, those guys were so good, man.
I've gotten into some pretty heated arguments with friends and colleagues in the past about the value of time of possession.
Hey, if you have the ball and you can score, every time you have it in like a minute and a half, who gives a crap? Right? Did you score?
Like I was in a production meeting for doing a high school football broadcast, and my color analyst was like, "Yeah, time of possession is going to be key here." Like we're just talking amongst each other, we're not on air, and I was like, "Is it?" I was like, "This team scored 14 points per game all season long. You can hold it for 30 minutes, and if you only score 1 touchdown and the other team scores on like 4 plays, it's really not going to matter."
Before we hit the break, let's get today's voting up for you. Day 3 of 4. Again, best Gamecock moments of the 21st century. So these are the 9th through 12th that you'll be voting on.
That's right. Tomorrow will be the last day of the preliminary round. We will, however, be doing on Friday best of the rest. So all the second-place winners of these polls, we'll do a consolation poll for Friday.
That's nice.
We're
like a bronze medal game.
That's right. It's like a bronze medal game in honor of the Olympics.
Yeah, that's cool.
So the nominees for today, in today's poll number 3 of 4, we have this year's women's basketball title against Iowa to cap off an undefeated season. We have the football upset of Alabama in 2010. We have the Jadeveon Clowney hit versus Michigan in 2013, on the first day of 2013. And the Camila Cardoso 3-point buzzer beater against Tennessee in the SEC tournament, which preserved a undefeated national championship season. And with 43% of the vote, the football win against Alabama in 2010 is in first. The Jadeveon Clowney hit is second with 24.3% of the vote. The women's basketball title against Iowa is 22.8%. And the Camila Cardoso 3 versus Tennessee is at 10%.
All right, we'll talk more about the poll throughout the day. You got a long time to vote. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios on this Wednesday afternoon. United States over South Sudan 26-14 as the first quarter comes to an end. United States gets Puerto Rico next, looking to win the group and the gold medal next week.
Historically has been a trip up occasionally. 2004.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm telling you, those 2004 dudes can say whatever they want, but they did not take the tournament seriously.
Nope.
They just did. I remember watching it. They didn't. They were like, whatever. I don't want to be here.
Being incredibly disappointed, which is ironic. So I want to say Tim Duncan was also on that team.
Yeah.
Which is very strange that a guy who just wins everywhere he plays.
Well, and he may have been the exception.
May have been.
In terms of, I don't know that Tim Duncan ever took a day off unless Pop made him. So, I feel like Duncan's the first guy that load management became a thing about, but it had nothing to do with Tim going, hey, Greg, I can't play.
Yeah, Greg Popovich did have a DNP and listed it as old next to that DNP.
Right.
Which is still funny. One of the funniest injury report.
Nearing 400 votes, as Elijah told you, the football win over Alabama is today's leader at 43.5%, 24.1%. The Clowney hit 22.5%. The undefeated women's national title, kind of surprising, that one's in third. Camila Cardoso's 3 against Tennessee, just under 10%. Taylor says no 2011 College World Series against Florida. That was yesterday, bud.
Yep.
Got to pay attention to these things. That was yesterday.
The class is on page 50.
Yeah.
That's
should I hit it back? You know what? Here, hold on. I'm going to do this live.
This is fun. That was yesterday's. Now, he still has a chance. If you're listening, Taylor, you do have a chance to vote for the 2011 College World Series against Florida next week because they did win the poll, so they will be in the final one.
It was a winner
on next week.
Ashok, is that how I say that? ASHOK. Can't believe the Cardoso 3 is so low. Literally saved the undefeated season. And then someone says the last at-bat at Rosenblatt. All right, I'll answer that one too.
Also, that was 2 days ago. You can vote on that one again on Monday. On day one.
There you go.
I have a feeling those 2 baseball championships are going to split the vote pretty well.
Yeah. I haven't voted today.
I haven't either, actually.
Well,
No, I did. Just kidding. I lied.
And I admitted the last couple of days I voted for something I knew wasn't going to win just because I wanted to see what would happen. So I guess I technically skewed the vote. But I don't know. Look, the first College World Series title, I get that one. I'm a little surprised that, look, as big as the football win versus Alabama was, it was in the middle of the season. That team lost 5 football games. I mean, it was a good year. They won the East. Mm-hmm. They beat Clemson again. They beat Florida in Gainesville. But they kind of, you got thumped by Cam in the championship game. And Marcus got hurt against Florida State, and that bowl game ended kind of poorly. Again, my memories of that bowl game, all the Chick-fil-A sandwiches I could eat. I got there.
Even though Chick-fil-A is not a top
I know what you say. I know what you say.
It's free.
And
which makes it
I love
almost number one.
I love Chick-fil-A. Now, there's a lot of good chicken sandwiches. I'm not here to debate the merits of the great chicken sandwiches that are out there. I don't agree with you about Zaxby's. I like Zaxby's, but I would put Zaxby's much lower. The Popeyes one is good.
Ever
the
had a
Bojangles
wings and things meal? It bangs. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Zaxby's right around the corner from my house. I mean, we go.
I went next to my apartment. I visit frequently.
But I would put Bojangles ahead of that. Definitely Chick-fil-A ahead of that. Again, the Popeyes one is good. You know who's got a really underrated chicken sandwich in this town is Rush's.
I've never had a Rush's.
You should get a Rush's chicken sandwich.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, because Rush's chicken's good, man.
Admittedly, I have never been to Rush's.
Oh, you should go to Rush's. Oh, no, you should go.
I see them.
Yeah. You need to go to Rush's. Chili cheeseburger. They got hot dogs.
Interesting.
And you can, and the good thing about a Rush's burger, especially relative to the chicken
I will
sandwich
take all
or the fried
Rush's
chicken,
recommendations here.
Like, to me, when you get a fast food burger, really almost any burger, if it's not messy, it's because there's not enough stuff and too much bread.
Fair. That's a fair, I've never thought of it that way, but I think that's a fair evaluation.
And when you go to Rush's, trust me, brother, you get a messy hamburger, and that's a good thing.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
It's nice and greasy.
Like
too.
Zesto, same thing.
I have gone to Zesto.
Zesto burger, man.
Zesto burger's good. Those fries.
Double Zesto burger, even if you're really hungry.
That's usually what I get. Yeah, and that feeds me.
What were we talking about? Oh, the poll. I was talking about Chick-fil-A sandwiches at the bowl game. But hey, look, vote how you vote. I'm not here to judge. Vote how you vote. But I am a little surprised that the undefeated women's basketball title is third on this list. Because that was a big deal, man. Going undefeated.
That's
hard.
Hard. Only I can't remember now. I knew it, when they won it because that was a pretty prevalent stat of how many programs actually pulled that off. And it's like Tennessee, Texas, UConn. Forget who else. There was like maybe 5 programs in the history of.
Did one of Kim's teams go undefeated?
Yes, Baylor. Yeah, one of Kim's teams did, and I want to say that's it. So Baylor, Tennessee, Texas, UConn, South Carolina. I think they became the 5th program in the history of the entire sport to pull off a feat like that.
Now UConn's done it like 5 or 6 times?
6 times.
Yeah.
6 of their 11.
Yeah.
Over half of theirs.
Yeah. That's impressive. They're good. But anyway, and then Johnny says, I chose The Hit over Raven's Revenge. I like that because it's a core memory. My wife and I were at the game on vacation for the first time without kids. We shared that moment in front of the pirate ship with each other and Gamecock fans we didn't even know. Incredible experience. That's cool.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. That was a good win. That was a fun win, man. That was a good day.
Also, another reason why I wanted to do this whole experiment here was so people can talk about their experiences with these memories.
Yeah.
Because, look, that's the best part of sports fandom, right? Like, I associate dates and times with what I was either watching or keeping up with at the time, right? Like, I can tell you, so many different things. Like, if I remember a certain, moment in time, I could tell you the year because of either football, basketball, you name it. Where I was watching certain things. I associate a lot of these really cool memories, like Kobe Bryant's last game. I associate with closing down a bar early and getting people out when I was working security at a music venue, so me and my boss could watch the game. Yeah. We shoot people out 20 minutes early to lock it down and turn it on the TVs so we could actually watch that game. I'll always remember where I was watching Kobe Bryant's final game.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
There's I like hearing stories like that. So thank you, Johnny, for sharing that.
Pops Frisbee says, are there any Sandys left in Columbia? Used to hit the one up on Main by campus all the time. Amen, brother. I did too, all the time. And when it was over on Sumter Street before they moved into that old Hardee's behind the State House when I was a kid, man. Ice cream, video games, and some big sloppy Sandy's hot dogs. I miss Sandy's real bad. Really
Never been to Sandy's, but hearing sloppy Sandy's hot dogs.
We didn't. Again, messy. You need it to be messy and good. No, there's no more Sandy's. At least not that I know of. Brad Muller on the other side of the break. Memories of 2 of these that we're voting on today. And Brad might give us a little rugby education with the United States winning a medal the other day. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
This is going to be the easier kick right down the middle.
There it is.
Oh,
there it is. Cedric with the conversion, and Team USA make history in Paris.
Oh, my God. That is amazing.
Alona Mar, the hands in the air. They've done what no other American rugby team in sevens have ever done before.
Good stuff. The call from the NBC broadcast as the United States beat Australia, one of the rugby powerhouses, men or women. First ever, as you heard, medal there. Our good friend Brad Muller joining us now to talk, well, some rugby, some women's basketball, just, what the Mullers have been up to this summer. But I know this means a lot to you, man. I know that rugby was like a big part of your childhood and your college years, so you're still involved. What was that like to see that at the national, international level this week?
Yeah, it was really cool. I'd played for 17 years in different places and helped coach a little bit as well. And it was cool to see the U.S. team do something and to score so dramatically like that on basically the last play of the game and then get the conversion, kick to win it. That was pretty cool.
And go the distance, Brad. I mean, they have to go all the way down the field.
Yeah, that you don't see. I mean, you see that in sevens. For those that don't know, sevens rugby, which you see in the Olympics, is a much shorter and wide open game than regular rugby because obviously you only have 7 players on each team, and it's 2 7-minute halves. Whereas what I call regular rugby is 15 players on each team, and it's 2 40-minute halves. It's a much longer game. But sevens is great because you can play 3 or 4 games in a day. And it's great for tournaments and stuff like that. It's one of those things that's great for the Olympics and great for TV. For folks that aren't familiar with the sport because it comes in small samples. But it's a wide open game, and it was just a great finish and great for Team USA. The last time they'd won any medal in Olympic rugby, it hasn't been in the Olympics all the whole time, but it was about 100 years ago when they played 15s rugby in the Olympics and the Americans. So I don't think anybody's alive that last saw the Americans win a gold or win any kind of medal in the Olympics. So it's pretty
15s, cool. That seems a little crowded to begin with right there. Hey, I was asking Elijah, I was like, all right, this sevens rugby, like I was thinking because they would come back for a second half and there'd be like 4 minutes left. And I'm like, well, how long was the half? Like, did they just...
Yeah, halftime's 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's get a sip of water, get back out on the field. And
so like, if it's a 7-minute half, I was like, well, wait, how much have I missed here? And so I finally figured those things out that, okay, it's a very condensed game, but that was cool. And Alona Mar has become, listen, my kids have been talking about her. Brad, yours might be too. They're like, she's apparently huge on social media, huge with the kids, takes no crap, and she's becoming a sensation in this country. So I love those kind of Olympic stories too.
Yeah, it's great. It is, and obviously I'm biased because of having played it for so long, but it's a great sport. And again, sevens is a sport I think that's kind of made for TV because there's a lot of scoring in a short time, and it's wide open, so it's fun to watch. And it's neat that they're getting some national attention. Hopefully, that'll draw more people to the sport, men and women, because it's everywhere. You just don't really know about it as much. And like the team here at South Carolina has been here since the late '60s, and it's better than it's ever been. A guy that I played with here in college named John Roberts is the head coach now, and he and some other alumni have done a great job of creating it to be where it's almost a varsity sport. They're providing scholarships through a lot of fundraising and things like that. So the game on the collegiate level has really grown a lot.
All right, you played for 17 years, including some time in college. So I have to ask, are all of your teeth real?
No, but it wasn't from rugby. I actually got hit in the face with a baseball when I was 14. That knocked out some of my front teeth. But it's funny because I mostly played 15s. Back in the day, sevens was only played in the summer because it was too hot to play 2 40-minute halves. In the summer. But now sevens is more. The college teams actually play that one semester. You play it year round. You play now that I think they play sevens one semester and they play 15s the other semester. You used to play 15s in both semester and sevens in the summer. But anyway, no, even in all that time, you don't get as many serious injuries as you would think. Although I broke my nose twice, and that was the worst thing I ever did.
Yeah, I've heard people say that about rugby. Like, how come they don't get more hurt? I was like, because they know they're not fully padded, and they're not going to go just flying into each other like American football.
You tackle properly.
Right.
You use your shoulder and you wrap up, and that's actually a rule in rugby. You have to wrap up, otherwise it's a penalty. So you don't go flying at someone's knee because you'll get knocked out if you do, like you see with American football where they dive at people's knees and just throw shoulders. I've always said if American athletes played rugby first, they would be better American football players because they would learn to tackle properly.
I think that's a great point, man. That's a great point. Brad's with us here again. Wanted to get a little rugby primer there because it is fun every so often for most of us that don't pay attention. But I knew how much it meant to him. But we're also here to have your take, like we had Derek yesterday talking about some of the great memories of women's basketball. Now this year it's very fresh, recency bias. We have two things to vote on for our greatest Gamecock moments of the 21st century, Brad. One is capping off the undefeated season with a national title, Dawn's third. And then the Camilla shot that preserved the undefeated season against Tennessee. I want to start you there. I know we've spoken to you after that tournament up in Greenville, but you've had some chance now to really let that one kind of marinate, and sink in a little bit more. As you might want to one day tell Brad and Catherine's grandchildren about that. Now, what does that memory tell you these days?
I can still see everything plainly because I remember almost losing my mind when I didn't think they were going to call the foul when Fulwiley was coming up the court because she got wrapped up. They bear hugged her, and I thought it should have been an intentional foul because they wrapped her arms around her. And then just still, two things: shocked that they basically didn't guard the inbound pass and didn't guard Camilla. There was 5 people on the floor and 2 of them were unguarded, and then that she hit that great shot, and just the excitement because of now what it means. It meant, at the end of the day, at that time, if they had lost that game, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. But now when you realize, gosh, that preserved an undefeated season, which doesn't happen very often, how cool that moment was for the least likely person on the team to shoot a 3. Yeah, I'll forever see Camilla, hitting that shot, the fact that, she buried it, and then her, spinning in a circle and everyone mobbing her on the floor. I can still see it. Like I'm still sitting there, courtside, and I don't think I'll ever, lose that memory because it was such a great moment from what was a great season.
And then the run in the NCAA tournament too. I mean, we were both in Cleveland for it, and it was a circus. Given the popularity of Caitlin Clark in Iowa, that thrilling game they had in the semifinal after this South Carolina team really cruised through NC State in the second half of their game. But when reliving the championship game, South Carolina going down 20-9, and then just turning it up a notch, showing the gear that they've had the entire season, where they can go from close game to non-competitive in the blink of an eye, and doing so on a national stage in what is now the most watched women's basketball game of all time. What's kind of your perspective and how you recall that game?
Yeah, well, it's the same kind of thing where, I like in my mind's eye, I can picture, where I was sitting. We were elevated from our in our broadcast spot there, so I see everything in my mind from that view. And I just remember, wanting, obviously you always want your team to win, but wanting to win for a lot of reasons because, you had lost to Iowa the year before after going undefeated and lost in the Final Four. And, obviously Caitlin Clark, for good reason, was kind of the darling of women's basketball because of what she had done. And at that point, you were just kind of tired of it because it's like, hey, we're undefeated. We're the team that hasn't lost. And the way that game went in the first half, where not only was Iowa playing great, but just some of the things that weren't going Carolina's way in terms of calls. When you had the two-handed shove that sent Breezy Hall flying and there was no whistle, and you're thinking, oh man, what's going on here? And the fact that they were able to rally from that, to me, going back to the poll you guys were talking about with all the great moments today, to me, beating Iowa was the biggest moment. I'm biased, obviously, because undefeated seasons don't happen. And the way it happened, you had to come from behind against a great team, against the person that was the face of women's basketball this year. When, let's face it, the folks at ESPN, it seemed like everybody was in Caitlin Clark's corner because she was the story. And, I don't want to say we were wearing the black hat, but, hey, we spoiled the party. But we were South Carolina was the team that was undefeated, and they deserved it. And it was how they had won games all year. It wasn't one player. It was somebody different stepping up throughout the game. You had Tessa Johnson went off at a career night shooting, and then Raven Johnson had that steal right before the end of the first half, which to me kind of sealed it, even though it was only like a two-possession game. That was it. I knew it was over after that, after they had rallied from double digits. So there's so many parts of that game that I'll remember, the frustration in the beginning, and then just seeing the team, really not bat an eye, and, having a lot of composure to beat a really good team and a really good player, and to do what, has only been done 10 times, and that's go undefeated to win it all.
Brad's going to hang out with us on the other side of the break. We'll update the poll, and we'll get Brad to look ahead to the two other women's basketball moments that you'll be voting on this week. You're listening to the Wednesday Postgame Show. Welcome back in. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. Our good friend Brad Muller, the voice of Carolina women's basketball, joining us here, reminiscing a little bit about some of the things that we're all able to vote on this week, as we are asking you to choose the best moments in Gamecock sports history this century. Today, 2 women's basketball moments, 2 more on the docket tomorrow. Before we get back to Brad on today's and tomorrow's, let's get to Elijah with an update on today's choices.
After 403 votes, the football win versus Alabama in 2010 is at 43.9% of the votes, so almost half. And second place is the Jadeveon Clowney hit versus Michigan in the 2013 Outback Bowl at 23.8%. The women's basketball championship versus Iowa this past year is at 22.3%, so a very close race for second. And Camilla's Miracle 3 against Tennessee in the SEC tournament this year is sitting at 9.9%.
All right. Now, tomorrow, we have 2 more women's basketball titles.
Yep. We have the 2017 and 2022 women's basketball championships.
Yep.
We have the football team beating Clemson in Clemson in 2022.
Uh-huh.
Shane Beamer's second year.
Okay.
And the DJ Swearinger hit on Andre Ellington in the 2012 game, and that also encapsulates the run of 5 straight wins against that one school that is north of here.
Yeah, there you go. Brad, when you think back to 2017 national championship, the first one, we talked a lot about the baseball title in 2010 the other day. Again, talking to the future grandkids, what sticks out most? They were close before and finally got over the hump.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. The first is always great because you don't know how you're going to react. And I just always go back to, in that moment when the clock was ticking down, looking at our bench, and seeing the smiles and thinking about, what Coach had said 5 years before that, I believe, at her Hall of Fame induction, where she had, one of the things she said was, stay with me. This was early in her career at South Carolina. I think we had just gone to her first NCAA tournament, with the Gamecocks, and she said, stay with me as, we bring a national championship to South Carolina. And it was like, wow, she said that, before we were even really good, and I thought that was kind of a bold statement at the time. And then, and there you go. 5 years later, after she had said it, we did it, and it was just that's immediately what I thought. I remember staring at the bench and seeing all those smiling faces, and her words came to my mind that that's what they were going to do, and that's all I could think of is, wow, she did it, and it was just cool because it was the first one.
You were obviously given a front row seat to see what Asia Wilson was doing at South Carolina, but now, Brad, there is a genuine belief that Asia Wilson is literally the best women's basketball player on earth. And I just, from your perspective, as you see what she has become, I can't ask you, did you think that was going to happen? But kind of give us your take on that.
Well, not surprised, just because of seeing how she played, even though she didn't have to do as much at South Carolina because of the way teams played, and obviously teams threw a lot of zone at us and stuff like that. It's a different game than professional and international basketball. But knowing that she had the ability to do all of those things that you're now seeing on a nightly basis, because you saw it in practice that she was a big who could play like a post, but she could handle the ball as good as most point guards. And she could pass the ball, she could block shots. She was one of those, however many tools you can give to a basketball player. She had all of them because of her great size. She had the inside, she had the outside. She could shoot the three, she could handle the ball. Yeah, she could play defense. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. And it was just a matter of it becoming her time. You had a lot of players in professional basketball, some of the stars of the game, the Tarazis and all those that have been around forever. That it was just kind of like, all right, she kind of had to wait her turn, so to speak, to get more of the spotlight, and now you're really seeing it because I don't know if torches pass is the right word, but she just keeps continuing to get better at all those other things that maybe she didn't have to do as much of in college. She was always capable of, but didn't have to, and now she's doing more of those things. And yeah, I'm not surprised at all. That was the player I think everyone expected when she first came on campus. That she could do it all, and she certainly did it for South Carolina. And you're just seeing more of it now. And so happy for her that she's right now one of the faces of, today's WNBA.
Yeah, and Team USA rolling right along. She
Yeah.
had a big night the other night, and they play again tomorrow, so expecting more of the same. Great to chat with you during the summer. We'll obviously see you very soon, probably next week at the Affiliates Luncheon, speaking of basketball and the things that we all do together on a regular basis. Best of the family, and we'll holler at you soon, man. Thanks.
All right, thanks for having me.
You bet. That's our good friend Brad Muller. SC Brad 92 is the way you follow along on the Twitters. Good stuff. And who knew? No, all his teeth aren't real, but it's a baseball incident.
Ironically enough.
Not a rugby incident. But the rugby players do. They wear those big, cushy mouth guards, and they, like he said, they know how to tackle.
They protect the chicklets.
Right. There's that. We're going to have a fun football exercise next hour. Stay here. 4 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thanks again to Brad Muller for joining us last half hour, talking a little Gamecock sports, a little rugby in the Olympics. American women winning a bronze medal in rugby sevens yesterday. And Brad clarifying, it's a very quick game. 2 7-minute halves. You play multiple games a day. I did notice that, too. I was like, wait, they just played. Is this? And I was like, oh, they okay.
You're surprised at how fast
I like
the game
learning.
went by.
Yeah, I like learning these things. I admit, I don't know a whole lot about rugby. I know cricket is not an Olympic sport. I'd like to know more about some of these things, but they're not on television very often. I guess you could find out.
If you have ESPN Plus.
No, the cricket's on, man.
At like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
At any given day, there's a little bit of cricket being played.
Well, I'll admit, because I watch a lot of soccer, and sometimes on some of the English soccer programming that I watch, like studio shows, when there are a couple of the big cricket events going on, they may like just kind of quickly delve into some of that. And then, I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I know it's cricket, and I know that, South Africa doesn't like India, who doesn't like Pakistan, who doesn't like Australia, who doesn't like New Zealand, who doesn't like England. So I get all that. Like, that's fun.
There are some very deeply rooted rivalries in the world of cricket.
We'll get into it. So I want to have Elijah explain what I'm going to be doing. He's done this. And a little later on this hour, live on the air, I'm going to take part in 2 Twitter football exercises.
Thought exercises.
About Gamecock. One's about Gamecock football. Well, it could be about any team. It's going to be about the Gamecock football team because it could be about your team is what it said.
Yes, this first one is very. We'll start with the one from our guy Parker Fleming here first at Stats of War on Twitter. He's with.
Do you trust people that have 2 last names?
I don't know if I trust them more or less than people with 2 first names.
That's true.
I mean, that's really the perfect combination of both is the most trustworthy.
Well, I have a daughter with 2 last names, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're testing me.
Yeah.
Well,
I know it's fine. I wasn't really about her. I was like, well, Jay, you probably shouldn't go too far with that.
With this joke, yeah. Watch where your material's going, buddy. People listen.
You do have a daughter with a last name for a first name.
Parker Fleming, he works with college football graphs. Did tweet this out the other day, and I thought this was fascinating in terms of quantifying a reasonable, and hence the word reasonable here, expectation for your favorite college football team going into 2024.
Because reasonable and college football go hand in hand.
Yes, and historically always have and always will. But it doesn't matter if you're a Gamecock fan, fan of Clemson, whatever, Georgia, Florida, whatever. This applies to everybody. I'll read his tweet verbatim. A fun preseason exercise that even the most casual fan will benefit from. Grab a pencil and paper, write down your favorite team's schedule for the season, assign a value from 0 to 1 for every game, and that's the probability that your team wins. Add those values up, and there's your reasonable expectation for the season.
Now, it took me a second on this. It's like 0 to 1. So I asked Elijah, so am I either a 0 that they're going to lose or a 1 that they're going to win, and then that's how many? And then
because that's pretty obvious.
That's what I was like, so that just seems like too easy.
This is playing the schedule game.
You're assigning something between, 0 all the way up to 1.00. So you're putting a percentage on this.
For example, I did this, and the first thing that came to mind for the Old Dominion game, I said 80%, so 0.8.
0.8.
So on and so forth. Like after that, Kentucky, I said 40%, so 0.4.
Right.
You do all that, you add it up, and then at the end of that is the reasonable expectation. Because what it does is also kind of bake in, luck indirectly, right? Bake a lot of this into the final number. A lot because there's a lot of toss-up games. And statistically speaking, if you play 6 toss-up games, you should win 3 of them, right? Mm-hmm. Because if they're 50-50 propositions, you're coming out with 3 of them, regardless of which ones they are. So I did this exercise, and I ended up with 6.23 wins for South Carolina going into the 2024 season, meaning a 6-6 season is, in my opinion, the most likely outcome for this team. Anything less would be disappointing. Anything more would be overachieving.
I mean, that's That's fair.
I'll go through the row. That way you have some time to go ahead and fill yours out. So we're going to do it live on air. They make it as real as possible. I did mine earlier today.
I'm going to have to do a couple of these off air because I don't want to sit here silently and like just bore people like as I sit here and try to haggle in my own mind over, point whatever versus, you know what I'm saying? So I may have to do some of this during a commercial break just to
freewheel it a little bit.
Yeah.
But here's mine. Old Dominion, I did 0.8, so 80%.
Okay.
At Kentucky, 0.4. And that might even be a little generous on my end. I think Kentucky's really good. That game being on the road with the stakes, that's going to be really, really tough. LSU, 0.45. I actually like their chances maybe more against LSU at home than I do on the road against Kentucky. Akron, 0.9. Ole Miss, 0.35. At Alabama, 0.25. At Oklahoma, 0.33. Texas A&M, 0.5. So a quite literal toss-up for me would be the A&M game here.
Right.
At Vanderbilt, 0.7. Missouri at home, 0.47. Wofford, 0.95. I gave out no ones because nothing in this life is guaranteed.
Okay.
And at Clemson, 0.38. And that ultimately is 6.23 once it all is all tallied up. So if you're listening to this right now and you're fascinated, you're like, wow, what is my actual, deep subliminal expectation for this team in terms of quantifying it in number of wins? I discovered is a really cool way to do it. I'm in a group chat with some friends.
But you got to force yourself.
To be honest, yeah.
To take off your school's colored glasses.
Yes.
And because I can think of a few people right now that we might deal with on a regular basis. Oh, I got 12.
I have a really close friend who is.
I can hear somebody go, I got a 14.
I don't know what you're doing.
We're going to beat Vanderbilt, 1.5, man.
We're going to break the scale.
Right.
I do have a friend who is as passionate a Tennessee Vols fan I have ever met in my life, and the guy never takes off his orange colored glasses. I love him to death, but I made him honestly do this, and he got like a 9.1. I'm like, that's okay. Then that's a fair expectation for.
Yeah, it's probably.
For them, even maybe a little high, because I was thinking, like, I haven't done it for them myself. I want to do this for every team in the SEC.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it myself, but I think my hypothesis for Tennessee would be like 8.4, 8.3 in that range. Georgia, it's probably going to be in the 10s.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia, people like to, I don't know. Georgia's got a really hard schedule. But I just think they're going to win the games, though.
Yeah.
But it is a hard schedule.
But then this bakes in the percentages. So it's like, how sure are you? And then this gives you the ultimate expectation. Because even if you think there's a couple toss-ups, this bakes in the randomness that college football can provide.
Right. So we'll come back around to that. I want to get to a couple of quick hits here before we need to get out of here. By the way, I don't have a score. America, they're in the third quarter now against South Sudan, but they're not yet covering the spread. So I want Elijah to not be beating himself up as much as he was earlier in the
They're
day.
going to.
29.5 was the spread.
It's only 11.
They're only up 11, man.
They were up 20+.
Well,
South Sudan's going on a run.
I told Elijah he doesn't know that Steve Kerr, may or may not put just two dudes on the floor for the final 5 minutes. Like, all right.
Rest everybody. He might put Mark Few on the floor.
Mark Few and Joel Embiid.
Oh, God. Forcing himself to play Joel Embiid, who I have not seen on the floor this entire game.
I think he's the guy today.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy. Oh, and then a bad turnover. All right. Never know. Never know.
They're getting
so
sloppy.
speaking of basketball, our buddy Ben Portnoy, who was here yesterday, thanks, Ben. Appreciate the time. Put out today that the Big Ten today announced its next 4 men's and women's basketball tournament sites for the men and women this coming season. It will be in Indy at Gainbridge Fieldhouse where the Pacers play. Men will stay there for 26. The men then will go to T-Mobile Arena in Vegas for the 2027 tournament. And then Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, where you get 2 pizzas for the price of 1 in March of 2028.
They don't mention what you get at Big Caesars.
That's in Vegas. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that was the women's? The men's will be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, again, where the Pacers play this coming season, so both there. Then the men in Chicago. then back to Indy, and then the men will be in Vegas in 28. I apologize. Those first ones you heard, Indy, Vegas, Detroit, that's women. Indy, Chicago, Indy, Vegas, that's men, 25 through 28. So both will be heading to Vegas for one of their tournaments. I like this. I'm a little surprised because the Big Ten, for as traditional, air quoting, as we may think the Southeastern Conference is, I personally believe that the Big Ten is even more traditional when it comes to how it operates. They love their noon kickoffs. Mm-hmm. They really don't like night games. Too late now because you got these big TV deals. And they have a real sense of this is how we do things here in the Big Ten. And again, the Southeastern Conference has a level of tradition as well. But I can't – I mean, for one thing, I suppose, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, and you lived there for many years, I feel like the SEC gets together and goes, well, where's the one place where we could all get in trouble? Nashville. Well, let's have it there.
Nashville, yeah.
But I can't possibly imagine that they would ever say, let's go to Vegas.
No.
You know?
No, not at all.
So where might there be in the current footprint of the Southeastern Conference that you could get into more trouble and still be in the footprint? I mean,
that's a remarkable question. That's a very, very good question. New Orleans.
Probably is what I was.
Where they have done it before.
Yeah, they have.
They have hosted.
They have.
Vanderbilt did upset the only loss that Anthony Davis championship Kentucky team had in the SEC.
Miami.
They lost at Indiana and against Vanderbilt.
Miami is in the footprint.
Yeah. It's very far south of the footprint.
Yeah.
It is almost the heel of the footprint.
It is.
Maybe below the heel if it getting lower.
But I think this is smart, man. And this, it gets people to want to pay attention to you. Vegas does that to people. You know, Vegas is a fun town. And people will want to go. Nothing against Indianapolis. But I've always looked at Indianapolis and be like, well, that's not really a tourist destination. I mean, you can go and you can do a couple of things, but they got a couple of really famous steakhouses. And they got a speedway that gets used a couple of times a year. You can take a tour. All right. Look here, kids. Here's a really big racetrack. And they got a golf course in the middle. Thanks, Dad. But you can take your kids to Vegas now. You can't take them to gamble, but they got stuff to do. I talked to a friend of mine. They take the kids to Vegas. I was like,
his kids to gamble?
No, but you go do stuff. And you can go down to Hoover Dam and
you can see Wayne Newton.
You can see Wayne Newton, which is great. They don't have the White Tigers anymore.
Thanks,
at the Mirage. I'm still sad they're going to blow the Mirage up, by the way. Not surprised. I'm just sad.
They're blowing it up.
I'm pretty sure it's going away, yeah. That's what they do in Vegas, man.
I don't know how literal you're being.
No, I think they're going to blow it up.
They're going to Georgia Dome it?
They'll put something even cooler there, the new Mirage.
Now the Mirage will quite literally be its namesake.
Yes.
Because it will no longer exist.
Chicago obviously could be a fine thing. I need to get to Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's a great town.
I need to go.
Fantastic town.
Detroit, Langston says it's not Detroit, but, you go across the border to Windsor, Ontario, where you can gamble the night away. So they got casinos in Detroit.
Just bring your passport.
Detroit-ish.
The light version.
But where else can we go in the SEC?
So Atlanta's hosted it for years.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
I love Atlanta, but again, you can get in trouble in Atlanta, I promise. But
yeah, there's trouble is everywhere if you look hard enough. But New Orleans,
you can get in trouble in Monroe, North Carolina, if you try real hard.
Fayetteville, Arkansas could be a place you can get in a whole lot of trouble, and it all may or may not involve some Tyson chicken nuggets. But I'm telling you, more New Orleans SEC basketball tournaments would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
one of my favorite places on earth. I love
But
that
I know they've got it locked into Nashville for a while. But I do. That's what I think. That's what the leadership thought. Like, where can we get in trouble?
Vegas, baby.
So we'll see. All right, I'm going to start my football exercise. And y'all can kind of play along with us here when it comes to the Gamecock football season. Let's see what we come up with. This is the Postgame Show.
Quick word, my friends over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. We talk about a lot of coaching and sports on this show, and I have some pretty good coaches over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and Paul Grant and Shaylin, who are almost celebrating a year here in Columbia here in this upcoming month. They've been here for 11 months, about to make it a year, and they've helped a ton of people, not just me, achieve their weight loss goals by helping them learn the ways their body burns fat, and doing so by giving them tips and helping them not just burn that fat, but be able to keep it off and to be able to have a sustainable living and lifestyle that fits with your schedule too, especially when it comes to eating. Look, what you put into your body is vital to your weight loss journey, and I learned that with Paul Grant and Shaylin over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and I was able to get the results that I wanted and was very pleased with my experience. And if that sounds good to you, of learning the secret of losing up to a pound of unhealthy fat per day, give them a call, 803-824-4210 or ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
Twenty minutes after 4 o'clock here on a Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. A couple of updates from the Olympics and one from Milwaukee, as Alice Cooper told us it's originally pronounced. Wayne's World 2.
The same way San
Right? Was that
Diego
Wayne's World or
is
Wayne's World 2?
San Diego.
That's Wayne's World. That's the first Wayne's World.
OG
right?
Wayne's
Alice
World.
Cooper. Yeah.
I haven't seen Wayne's World in probably
Alice Cooper's the
15
first one
years.
because Aerosmith's in the second one.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. America is up 16, right? 73-57. Is that what I saw?
Your math is as good as mine, sir.
Nearing the end of the third, America over South Sudan men's basketball, and my Atlanta Braves are up 4-2, bottom 7 at Milwaukee, trying to win this series.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, they won last night.
They did. They helped the Reds out a little bit.
I don't care about anybody else. I'm a big fan of you. I could not care less at this point about any other baseball team other than the Braves and the Mets losing.
Reds. Everybody does. Everybody. We're all Ellie De La Cruz stands here. Everybody. And if you're not, you're just lying, and I don't believe you.
By the way, I don't know what the third quarter box is, and I'm not going to pull it up right this second. But the United States had 19 made buckets in the first half of this game, 17 assists.
That's remarkable.
I mean that
is basketball how the good Lord wants it.
Yeah, I was going to say like John Wooden and Henry Iba are up in heaven hanging with some other basketball dudes, and they're just high-fiving.
They're shedding tears.
Or shaking hands, probably. They're probably not high-fiving.
They're not that casual with each other.
They're still got some decorum.
However, Dr. James Naismith, fully nude.
Yes.
Not a single article of clothing. I know. I don't know much about Dr. James Naismith other than inventing this wonderful game of basketball. However, if he did watch that display and saw that assist to field goal ratio, yeah. If he's anything like me.
Yeah. Would you like to have been one of the people that sat on top of the thing when you actually had the peach basket and you put it in, you had to take it out and hand it?
Your job was to empty the basket so you can continue playing? Yeah.
Maybe we should just cut a hole in this thing.
This bleep's getting annoying.
Do we know how long it took?
If it took more than like a week, I'm going to be really disappointed.
I'd like to know that, actually. Somebody look that up for me real quick.
It would have taken me like an hour to be like,
how long did it take?
Screw this, man. I'm tired of putting this ball out of this beach basket.
Yeah, some kid said, hey, Dr. Jim, I don't really want to be up here anymore. Or is it because some kid fell?
And he got sued.
Right? Oh, they
so
weren't
he just
suing.
cut the hole out of the bottom.
Yeah, well, I guess we better just cut a hole in it then. I didn't really want to do that.
I didn't want to ruin this perfectly fine peach basket.
All right, so let's set everybody back up. If you just tuned in, we're doing a football thought exercise. I am doing this basically. I've got most of it done live on air here, but this is how it works. Elijah's going to explain this to make sure that I'm doing it right. And when it comes to attempting to predict how many games I realistically believe South Carolina's football team is going to win.
Yes, or what your reasonable expectation.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and reread it from the author of this exercise, Parker Fleming, at Stats of War on Twitter. Good follow. He says, a fun preseason exercise that even the most casual fan will benefit from. Grab a pencil and paper, write down your favorite team's schedule for the season, assign a value between 0 to 1 for every game, and it's the probability that your team wins. Add those values up, and there's your reasonable expectation for the season. I did that for South Carolina, and I am currently sitting at 6.23 wins as the expected win total for the season, based off this just thought exercise.
All right, so I took some of your advice by not assigning a pure 1.
Nothing in this life is given.
To anything.
Guaranteed.
Now, I didn't know if I should go to like 0.99 for a few of these games, so I just my top value is 0.95. So I'll leave open the 5% possibility in 3 of these games that Carolina doesn't win. That's probably not fair to Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But a 95, I mean,
95 is a very
the FPI
strong.
is probably going to say that's like the Old Dominion game. So I got 0.95 for Old Dominion. I got 0.95 for Akron. I got 0.95 for Wofford. Vandy is the least difficult, is the way I'll label it, conference game. I've got 0.85 for that one. And then I feel like there's either some form of toss-up to you're going to be a pretty heavy underdog. But how low did I go with the underdogs? All right, at Kentucky. I feel like in my head, based on where these two clubs are and what Carolina's done of late, that it's a toss-up, but I'm going to give Kentucky the home field benefit of the doubt. I go 0.45. All right? 0.45. Now, I know you're higher on Kentucky than I am, right?
Yes, I'm very high on Kentucky.
Okay.
But I still even that one. I got 0.4.
Okay.
So you're really only 5 percentage points.
LSU. Now, I had difficulty with this one, and I should probably bump this one up a little bit. In fact, again, I'm doing this live on air. So I am. Because it's in Columbia, I'm going to approach it with the same logic. I'm going to put 0.40. So let me go back to here.
So me and you flip-flop basically are Kentucky and LSU because I have 0.4 for Kentucky on the road, and I actually think they have a better chance of catching LSU early and catching them napping, having to come here in a noon game at Willie B. I have that one as a 0.45, but LSU is so talented that I do give them a slight advantage.
That's just my thing. Like I like that opportunity.
Yeah, they're still very,
but they're
talented.
Loaded, man.
Yeah, inexperienced,
right? But loaded,
but still very loaded.
They're loaded. All right. So LSU 0.4. Again, I told you Akron 0.95. Mississippi coming here. Again, I'm not as high on Ole Miss as you or most, but I get it. So I'm going to put 0.45.
Okay.
0.45.
You're about 10 percentage points ahead of me on that one.
So you had Ole Miss at 0.35 versus Carolina chances.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. I like that opportunity as well. At Alabama, at Oklahoma, I'm going to go 0.35. And by the way, I didn't get into like 7s and 3s and 2s. I don't know if I'm smart enough to do that. You're better at this. You have the
0.33 is easy because that's one third.
You have the EFPI and the EBPI. You know, my brain doesn't work that way.
This thing is a supercomputer.
So 0.35. So a 35% chance Carolina wins at Alabama. 35% chance Carolina wins at Oklahoma. If you want to call me crazy, call me crazy. But that's where I am. A&M comes here. You said that was a virtual toss-up. Yep. I go slightly better for Carolina at 0.55.
Okay.
Because it's here. And I'm again, A&M, a lot of talent, but typically an 8 and 14.
And can Elko get them?
Yeah, can he? Maybe. But again,
that's a really good question.
Again, don't take my word for it. Go look at A&M's schedule the last 30 years. The results don't lie. The results are facts. How they got there is an opinion sometimes.
Sometimes.
But the result
even that could be debatable.
Is the result. You are what your record says you are. And they typically lose 4 games or more a year. Vanderbilt, 0.85. Missouri here in Columbia. Today, I've got that as a 50-50. And I know some people are really high on Mizzou. I need to see him do it again like I have for a lot of schools. 0.5. So straight up 50-50 there. Wofford here, again, a 0.95, as I mentioned. And going to Clemson, I'll put the same. I wanted to go a little higher, but I didn't because I'm trying to be as ultra realistic as possible.
Yes. We're trying to be objective here.
0.35, just like I did for at Bama and at Oklahoma. So basically a third of a chance there, which gives me a 6.11.
Wow.
Lower than yours.
Lower than mine. Yeah, that is by, 6.11, so by 12.
Yeah, 12 hundredths.
Yeah, by 12 hundredths.
So that's me being realistic. Now I could kick up Ole Miss, LSU, and Clemson a little bit probably, or even A&M, but I probably shouldn't.
So I think this is a pretty fair way of saying 6 wins is a reasonable.
That just feels right at this point. We'll follow up and do thought exercise number 2 on the other side.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you here that are causing some issues on the roadways. We'll go and start with the disabled vehicle, though, that's got the right lane completely blocked over on 26 westbound. That's over near the Columbia Avenue exit 91. We have an object on the roadway that's causing a lesser traffic backup. The one on 26 looks like it's almost at a standstill at the moment. One on 77 southbound, that's over at I-20 near exit 16. And then lastly, here in Richland County, we do have an accident that's been reported on Jacobs Mill Pond Road at Wood Creek Farm Road.
Talking some college football, just had a little thought exercise here on trying to realistically predict Carolina wins this season. Came up with a 6.11, Elijah 6.23.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Makes me want to just add a few things just to make it a little bit higher, but that, again, that's probably the Carolina alum in me coming out. But I don't know where. I mean, do I add another 0.05 to the LSU game and give them a 55% chance to beat Missouri?
Make it closer to a toss-up.
Even if I did those two things, I'm still under where you were. So you're more optimistic than I am. Well, not necessarily optimistic, but
for certain games, I think I'm more optimistic with LSU. You are more optimistic with Kentucky. I am more optimistic with Clemson.
What was your Clemson one?
0.38.
To my 0.35. So yeah, it is
that
more.
Is more.
It is more.
I'm not a mathematician, but I can tell you that 0.38 is more than 0.35.
I know that scene in League of Their Own. We only make $30 at the dairy. John Lovitz. Well, this would be more, wouldn't it? Yeah, I love that line from John Lovitz. I love that. I wish they had made a movie about that John Lovitz scout. That would have been great. Like a spin-off movie.
Uh-huh.
John Lovitz the scout. Whatever that guy, I forget his name, but that guy was great. And then he was just gone. He was just gone. Anyway, so thought exercise number 2 is courtesy of Bud Elliott of CBS Sports and the Cover 3 podcast. And here's what he's going to have us do. He says, pick one from each group to make the playoff. Now, you don't get 12 when you're done with this exercise. That's the thing. So
he gives you a pool to choose from without being take all the obvious ones.
Right. He gives you the way you're going to do this. You're going to pick 8. So 4 others will make the field. He says, and then he wants you to send it in. I probably am not going to send. Did you send yours in to Bud on a reply?
Not yet.
Okay.
So I was going to wait till we did it on air.
Okay.
And I didn't even have mine filled out until today. I'm still missing my wild card. I might need the break to think about my wild card.
Okay. Well, I mean, if I get one wild card and it's any of these teams, then I already know who mine's going to be.
Oh, it's not any of those teams, no. The wild card cannot be any of the teams mentioned.
Oh, dang.
So it's like the long shot. This is like your Steph Curry pulling up from 35.
Oh. Because I was going to say, if I can just pluck one more team.
Then you're picking Georgia.
Yeah.
Then everybody would pick Georgia.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you gotta.
And here's why.
Like the kids say, you have to get deep in your bag on this one.
I get it. Okay. Well, then we may have to take this over another break.
We absolutely will for the wild card.
All right. So line 1, Georgia or Ohio State. I want all of you to play that. I don't want you writing if you're driving, but I want you to play along here. All right. That's it. So only one to make the playoff: Georgia or
Who do you
Ohio
think has
State.
the more likely chance of making the playoff?
The more likely chance to make the playoff based on the schedule is Ohio State. That doesn't mean I think they're better than Georgia.
Yeah, we're picking playoff teams here.
Second line, Oregon or Texas. Oregon.
I also went Oregon. We are 2 for 2.
Again, I got nothing against Texas. I need to see you do it again.
I think Oregon might be a better team than Texas, straight up.
Dude,
Just
Oregon
Oregon might have been
stupid
loaded on offense. I mean, stupid loaded.
I don't know what the FPI said at the end of the season, but I think a case could have been made that Oregon was the 3rd best team in America purely last season. I would say
I might even say second.
I'm giving Michigan their due. then I'm going Georgia, then I'm going Oregon. Again, and I know Washington beat them twice by 3 points. That was it. And I'm not saying Oregon wasn't. No, Washington was great, and Washington won the games. I'm taking 0 from the Huskies, but man, Oregon was good. All right, line 3: Notre Dame, Penn State, or Ole Miss. So now he branches into giving us 3 choices.
All teams of equal caliber.
Yeah. Notre Dame.
Going Notre Dame. Okay, our first difference. I went Ole Miss.
Okay.
On this one.
Line 4: Alabama, Michigan, or LSU. It's not going to be Michigan. I'm
They
pulling.
lost way too much.
Yeah,
man, way too much. I think they'll still be really good. I mean, that's a possible 9-3 team, but I
can see them. I can see, and look, a 3-loss team may well make this field, which is fine with me.
Good.
In fact, I think there will be at least one 3-loss team that makes this field.
Yep, I believe so. I believe pretty heavily that will be the case.
But I'm going to pick Alabama.
I picked Alabama as well.
All right. Line 5: Florida State, Tennessee, Missouri, Clemson.
This is an interesting one.
Golly. Now, you've only got one SEC school in here right now, but no ACC yet. And there is going to be an ACC school. So I'm going to put Florida State.
Okay. I took Clemson. I went same conference. I went Clemson in that group.
Line 6. We good on time? Yeah, okay. Line 6, y'all. Hope everybody's paying attention.
This is a crowded group.
Utah, A&M, K-State, Southern Cal, Liberty, Boise. We're picking just one of these.
I'd be impressed if we get the
all right,
same
again,
one here.
A&M, you're out.
By virtue.
Boise, you're out. I want to think Southern Cal is going to be good. I like what Kansas State does. Until somebody in that new conference knocks off Utah, though, I'm going to put the Utes.
That's a good call. I took Kansas State, but honestly, to me, it was down between those two teams. To me, it's who's going to win the Big 12, and
I like Liberty.
It's really tough.
Liberty's going to probably be that G5 team, right? Probably.
I think they are the second most talented G5 team.
Ooh. Behind Memphis or Boise?
Memphis.
Memphis, yeah.
Memphis is loaded for a G5 team. That's a really good
all right,
roster.
Line 7, Louisville, Oklahoma, Arizona, NC State, Kansas, Iowa, Memphis, Auburn, Virginia Tech. And he's making us pick just one of these. Now, at some point, I got to pick a G5. I guess I don't have to because we're only going to get to pick 8. And I can't make one of those schools that's already been named my wild card. Elijah says that's against the rules.
It is against the rules. You'd be in violation.
Listen, man, people aren't going to score on Iowa, and their schedule.
They do have
quite
a
favorable.
very friendly schedule. Yes, absolutely.
And as high as I might be on Oklahoma as a program, as we say around these parts.
They have a lot of trap games, too.
Arizona, I got to see it again. NC State.
Arizona have to see it again with a different coach. They bring back a lot of talent.
Louisville, not yet. Kansas would be a great story.
Kansas is sneaky. They're a sneaky.
Virginia Tech is good. Auburn, not yet. All right, give me Memphis out of that one.
Memphis, you and me both, brother.
Because, again, I got to have a G5 somewhere.
And I am very high on Memphis.
And then, so the last one is wild card. And it can't be any of the schools that we just named. So I'm going to do this real fast, and then we're going to hit a break, and we're going to pick a wild card on the other side, all right? So here's the schools that have been named that can't be the wild card. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, Mississippi, Alabama, Michigan, LSU, FSU, Tennessee, Missouri, Clemson, Utah, A&M, K-State, Southern Cal, Liberty, Boise, Louisville, Oklahoma, Arizona, NC State, Kansas, Iowa, Memphis, Auburn, Virginia Tech. None of those teams can be the wild card. So somebody you didn't hear has to be the wild card, and we'll make our picks on that, and y'all can play along with us when the postgame show returns. All right. Wow, what an apropos bump. I feel under pressure. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. I have not picked a wild card team yet. If you've just tuned in, we're doing an exercise here from Bud Elliott of CBS Sports and the On 3 podcast, or the Cover 3 podcast, excuse me.
Two different entities.
Two different things. He gave us tiers of teams, if you will, to choose from to make the playoff. Now, we're only choosing 8 of the 12. But he's made it hard for us to fill in the one gap with any of the teams that he gave us to choose from. And the wild card team can't be on that list.
We do have a texter, nameless texter on the text line.
Yeah.
Goes Wisconsin or Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. I like the makeup of Wisconsin's defense. They have a ton of question marks on offense, and they have a tough schedule, but it is tempting because Luke Fickell is that good of a
Well,
coach.
before you told me that, back me up. What did I just ask you off air? I said,
Are they supposed to be any good?
I said, is Wisconsin going to be any good? Because my thought is Wisconsin's not on this list, and Wisconsin's pretty good at football.
Yeah. They were very disappointing.
But Wisconsin, I see Wisconsin as a 7-5 team. They got Oregon, Penn State, Iowa, Southern Cal, and Alabama, and I just don't think they'll win any of those games. They might beat Southern Cal. They might beat Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, they might beat Alabama in Madison. I don't know. I mean, look, they might do a lot of things. It's sports. But I don't.
I think for this texter, though, because this person goes Wisconsin or Nebraska, I think Nebraska has a better chance than Wisconsin.
I do, too. Their schedule, yeah. And look, last year they lost like 5 of their games by a touchdown or less. I get it.
And if the Raiola kid is what he's supposed to be, and he can make a difference off the bat, I can totally see that. We have another nameless texter going West Virginia, which is not a bad
That's a good one.
The Big 12 is so even that
That's
you
a
can
good
win
one.
the Big 12 at 8-4 and be in.
But I tell you the one I'm going to do, man.
I do like West Virginia an awful lot this year.
I tell you what I'm going to do, though. Because of the conference, because I think they're getting better, my wild card is going to be the Hurricanes.
The U.
Yeah.
I had them written down as my number one choice.
I think that's what, because I think they can. I said there might be a 9-win team, a 9-3 team that gets into this thing. Like, I don't know that Miami's going to play for the ACC championship. My gut tells me that Clemson and Florida State will play for the ACC title. Although, who did FSU beat last year? Chapel Hill? Who did they beat last year?
In the ACC title game?
It wasn't Clemson, was it?
Louisville.
Oh, God, really?
They did. It was not one for the aesthetics, I'll tell you that much.
I thought Louisville took a year off from football. I don't even know they.
Well, they took like decades off from football.
I'll take Miami. Miami's my wild card.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I was not going to take the same one you did. We need to get some differentiation here. I liked 4 teams enough.
Wait, was I supposed to not choose mine yet?
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay.
See, because you didn't have 1 picked. I had 4 picked going into.
Well,
the
I kind of had 2. I don't have. I'm not high on Nebraska, so Wisconsin and Miami were in my head.
Okay, mine.
I like the West Virginia one though. That's good.
I will take Oklahoma State.
Okay.
In the Big 12, kind of the same thought process as West Virginia. I'll take them. I was dangerously close with taking the team that I think is going to be the ultimate sleeper in college football this year, in terms of they're going to surprise a lot of people because they're better than people think, and the schedule's not that hard, and that's Rutgers.
Well,
I would not be surprised.
You sent me the thing about Herbie. Kirk Herbstreit was all over Rutgers. Oh, look, Schiano can coach, man. He's, Schiano might be what Matt Rule is. You know? I mean, a dude can coach. And sometimes it's just a matter of who you're coaching, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's a decent choice.
It was between Oklahoma State and Rutgers for me once Miami was off the board. As
a University of Maryland parent, I'd love for Maryland to be thought of the way Rutgers is, but they're not.
No. They got a lot coming. They have a 1,000-yard rusher coming back with a completely healthy offensive line that was really good last year. They avoid the top 5 teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's what. See, and that's one thing that
if they win, even 3/4 the toss-up games, they're going 9-3, man, and they might be playing for a Big Ten title.
They might.
Like, that would not be the most surprising thing to me if that actually ends up coming to fruition.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, this exercise only allows us to pick 8 schools. So, 4 more, let's just say that the lists we have come up with, or any of you that are playing along have come up with, there's going to be 4 more. Look, there's no Georgia on my list. And
because you had to choose between
I had to choose. And again, just of the 2, the more likely. Because
Ohio State is the most talented roster.
Ohio State will be favored in every game they play. This season, I'm not certain as of yet that Georgia will be favored in every game they play. I think they will.
3 really tough road games.
But they go to, in whatever order, Austin, Tuscaloosa, and Oxford.
Ohio State has to go to Eugene,
I think they'll be favored when they go to Oxford. I don't know that they'll be favored when they go to Austin. And again, being favored, I've seen a lot of teams that weren't favored win a game.
Yeah, very true.
So,
especially when you're that good of a program.
So we'll see. That was fun.
That's good. I will submit these.
All right, good.
I'll submit these.
All right, I'll type it up for you. Headlines of the day, including what the American men just did in the Olympics. Be right back.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start with some good news, though, and that's that an incident has been cleared on 26 westbound just after the Columbia Avenue exit near exit 91. We have 2 accidents, thankfully just 2, or 1 accident, 1 disabled vehicle, and These things are causing some slight traffic backup, nothing too crazy, but a disabled vehicle is causing some issue on 20 eastbound at Bush River Road near exit 63. And the one accident we have to report is on Kittiwake Drive near Orchard Hill Drive.
That last one never gets old. Welcome back in. Final hour of the Postgame Show on this final day of July 2024. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips.
She wasn't lying.
Appreciate you being with us. If I just touch my earpiece, news will break.
No one touches their earpiece because nothing's coming through
That's right. There you go.
And when it's coming through it, that's a producer giving you some breaking news.
I'll start. We don't do a lot of recruiting here, but I know some Gamecock fans concerned about this one. I don't know how much concern there should be, but if you have not yet heard, Jaden Breaker, a 3-star linebacker from the Atlanta area, flipped his commitment this week from Carolina to LSU. He went to what was the party called? The Bayou Bash this weekend. And at the Bayou Bash, he said the visit was more than I expected it to be. I saw the campus, how they run things, got the offer. I feel good about LSU. The best parts of the visit were seeing the campus, seeing the Tiger Cage, and talking and bonding with the staff. Well, okay. That Carolina needs to get like 2 types of animal cages. I don't know what they want to put in it.
Find the world's largest chicken.
All right.
The world's largest. I know Sir Big Spur does very good on his own, and we appreciate his efforts towards the university. But you need to find the most jacked, roided up chicken you could possibly find. One that is a freak of nature. One that is a circus sideshow.
Where do we think that chicken would live?
Probably in Argentina.
Okay, I was going to say Brazil, but okay.
South America.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not. These types of chickens are not of this content.
No, you get them. You find them in the Amazon somewhere.
Yeah, but you got to find this chicken. You got to have a really good chicken scout. Find this chicken, and you will land every single bleeping 3-star you could ever hope for. Every single one.
So just more wild animals of any kind, really, but a chicken first, I suppose.
Because honestly, if I was a recruit and I'm interested in South Carolina, but I'm also interested in LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and someone's like, hey, dude, you should take the official visit to Columbia, South Carolina. They have the world's largest chicken. That would get me the visit. And if that's what seals the deal, it seals the deal. And it looks like large animals have worked for this kid. So I think we have discovered a blueprint that will make recruiting a foolproof proposition for Coach Beamer from here on out.
Whatever it takes.
That advice was free.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
The chicken will not be.
In all seriousness, this young man, again, Jaden Breaker, the number 684 prospect in the class of 25, the number 74 linebacker, and the 74th as well rated player in the state of Georgia. Look, you don't want to lose kids. I get it. I wouldn't sweat this, not because I don't know enough to say if he's going to get. If LSU wants you, you're probably pretty good.
You're not bad.
Yeah. But being from Atlanta, you might want to say, oh, you can stay closer to home. They can dazzle you down in Baton Rouge. I think you'll make up for this. So I wouldn't sweat that one too much. But I saw some people, oh, no, here we go, because they didn't get the kid from Rock Hill the other day, and that made everybody mad. And,
went to Florida State.
So.
The Knowles. Here's the best part about recruiting in 2024 now. They can always come back.
Yeah.
They can be in the portal in a year. They might go to LSU or Florida State and be like, this sucks. I'm not playing as much as I want. They can always come back.
Everybody loses people.
Everybody's a rental.
I'm not here to make you feel better or worse. I'm just giving you the news of the day that this kid flipped his commitment to
I'll give you the bright side.
LSU.
This kid can come back.
Yeah, there you go.
Can always come back.
Again, bright side number 2, go get somebody that's just like you. I mean, I feel confident, again, not trying to dog this kid at all, but I feel confident that Carolina can go get somebody in like the top 500 to replace him.
Yes, certainly.
You should be able to do that. So Take it as you will. Here's who needs to be feeling really good right now. About 2 hours ago, my co-host, Elijah Campbell, was kind of angry with himself because he did not take the USA at minus 29.5 over South Sudan. You may recall that the United States barely survived against South Sudan in an exhibition game about 10 days ago before the Olympics began. They were for whatever reason, some book decided to put a 43.5-point line on the game. And people probably bet on it because why not? Today, again, just 29.5. Final score. United States 103, South Sudan 86. You, sir, should feel relieved.
Yes, that I didn't take my advice.
Just a 17-point win over South Sudan. I think the United States should stop playing basketball.
It's over. It's over. Forget gold.
I mean, basically, if you combine the two games and have an aggregate spread of minus, 72? And you've beaten them by a combined 18? I don't know what's left for the United States at this point.
Basketball is the South Sudan sport now.
That's right.
Because good teams win, great teams cover. And so South Sudan covered twice.
They did.
Which makes them one of the greatest basketball teams in the world.
The United States today was led by Bam Adebayo off the bench with 18 points. In fact, America's top two scorers came off the bench. Kevin Durant came off the bench to score 14.
For this team.
LeBron had 12. I love me some Devin Booker had 10 points. So who else had double digits today? Anthony Edwards had 10, and Derek White had 10 points.
I want to say Joel Embiid was
did not play.
Joel Embiid.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he's the only guy that didn't play today. Tatum got, I don't have minutes. This box score right after the game doesn't give me minutes played. Tatum was 2 for 4 from the floor, missed a three-pointer, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, a turnover, 4 points. But he did start after not playing.
Yes.
I don't think we see much of Joel Embiid the rest of the way.
I don't think so. He just doesn't fit the format, and it's fun to make fun of Joel Embiid every now and then, but I don't think he fits the FIBA play style very well because the emphasis on the big man and really good passing big men is a little heightened whenever there's no defensive 3 seconds. Like Joel Embiid plays really well in a lot of space. Quite frankly, there's no defense 3 seconds in FIBA, so there is a lot less space to have to work with.
Yeah.
So you need guys who are really good passers as big men if they're going to play away from the basket. And as good of a scorer as Joel Embiid is, it's easier to be able to double down in the post and be able to make life harder for back-to-the-basket bigs if you're not a really, really good passer.
America's next game, I believe, is Saturday against Puerto Rico, the final game of group play, and then the quarters will begin next week in France. Speaking of the quarters and advancing, United States women's national team today. Remember, it's a full squad for the women, not for the men, but they did beat Australia today 2-1. America had a 2-0 lead until late. Australia got one in stoppage time, but it didn't matter. America will play Japan in the quarterfinals. Continuing our integrated media headlines, the Braves took 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. Braves will take on the Marlins next, so Atlanta might be coming around. Matt Olson had a home run today, so that's good.
It's a good sign.
Atlanta, let me go to it right now if I can get here. What are they currently with the new standings? I'll tell you what they are in the wild card. A game and a half ahead in the wild card chase. So, but San Diego right there, Arizona and New York both at 57 and 51. The Cardinals now a game back. So, and again, Arizona and New York might have to battle it out. But the Braves hanging on by the skin of their teeth, man. But the Braves have won just 4 of their last 10, but they have taken 2 of 3 in Milwaukee. And everybody will be fully activated. The Braves were counted as one of the losers in the trade deadline. You and I were talking about this earlier today. The ESPN guys kind of rating them. And while they didn't, slam the Braves for not making any moves, one of the things they said that's accurate, from what I've read today, Elijah, is the Braves, and we talked about it this week, even before the deadline, even last week. The Braves don't have a lot of draft capital right now because the guys that you might have been able to use as any kind of trade bait, you are now probably going to be forced to play. I mean, like you brought Nacho Alvarez up. I don't know that they would have traded him because, again, I think he's the future at shortstop when they let go of Arcia. You and I were talking about this last night.
You have to plan for that stuff.
Right. I mean, you do. You have to plan ahead. And Arcia is a great player. Well, he's a very good player. I don't want to call him great. But he's been solid as Dansby's replacement. More than solid. He's made an all-star game. He's a really good player. But ultimately, the Braves will move him on, and Alvarez will take his place at shortstop and will do so for a lot less money.
It's a very fair succession plan.
That you can find a way to apply more than likely to some quality starting pitching in the coming seasons. But as it stands, the Braves just don't have a lot to trade. And unless the deal makes perfect sense for you, like this Crochet kid with the White Sox, 25 years old, one of the 2 or 3 best pitchers in the American League, it seems, if you look at the WAR numbers. You wouldn't know it by looking at his overall stats because he plays for almost said something. He plays for a bad team.
That might be the nicest way you can describe it.
Well, I was about to say something that'd get me fired, so I got to be careful. But the Sox would want way too much in return than what a team like the Braves have to offer.
And you'd have to commit like long term.
Yeah, and you're not ready for that yet because maybe you do keep Max free.
Not all of us are ready for commitment.
Right. So anyway, again, Braves are still in first in the wild card chase. It's just gotten a lot tighter and a lot less comfortable than it was, say, a month ago. But Braves take 2 of 3 today. To close things out in the headlines, I almost hesitated doing this, but if you saw it now, it was just Elijah asked me if I had seen it, and I finally did see it last night. But Jeffrey Simmons, the former Mississippi State D lineman and now a very good player for the Tennessee Titans, basically went nuts on local radio host in Nashville, a guy named Buck Rising, yesterday. And we cannot play it for you or repeat it because it'll just sound like this. Beep. But today, Jeffrey Simmons said of his very pointed outburst while Buck Rising was live on the air from Titans practice.
Trying to interview one of his teammates.
Yeah. He really went after him and said a lot of things about a post, I guess, that Buck had put out being, critical, as some guys are.
Because Jeffrey Simmons started a fight in training camp.
Yeah.
Which he did, by all accounts.
That's Jeffrey Simmons apologizing today. That's not who I am or who I want to be seen as. At the end of the day, I take full responsibility for my actions on the field, and I promise that won't ever happen again. Again, that wasn't on the field, bro.
That was very much off the field.
Off the field. The Titans are trying to spin this as Simmons, I guess, had gotten into some fights and was a little agitated. Right? Is that basically the story?
There were a lot of different scrums in that Titans practice that day.
And, he had gotten hollered at, and some other guys had gotten hollered at by Brian Callahan, and then he was all fired up, and that had already been out there, and then he sees him, and it doesn't excuse it. Apparently,
because that's really soft.
Yeah. Apparently, the Titans made arrangements for Simmons and Rising to speak.
I saw a picture of them speaking today. Paul Kaharski took a picture of them speaking before practice.
Simmons said of Buck Rising, he has an understanding of where I'm coming from, and I have an understanding where he comes from. He has a job, and I have a job. Jeffrey Simmons ought to be careful. Again, this is a guy who got in some real trouble at Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. But he has been, listen, he's a fantastic football player.
And before this, really, by all accounts, has been an upstanding citizen.
Yeah, I think the state thing did. I think that did change him
significantly. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and anchored him a little bit. So again, you can't do what he knows he can't do what he did.
And how bad it looks. It is a terrible look.
I just hope his station gets the Titans to pay any potential fines. Because there were multiple finable words.
All in the span that were thrown out so fast that
in just a few seconds.
You're not dump button ready for that.
No, you can't. Buddy. You can't do that.
You're not expecting that.
That's why I say if you just heard it, just had to be one long beep.
Like I want one of the few times I've ever had to actually use the dump button in my career. Malcolm Butler, dropped a GD and an MF in like a 5-second stretch, and I am just like hammering home that dump button as fast as I can. I don't think listeners in that market heard anything.
Dude, at that point, you might have to just sledgehammer the entire board so that the station blows up.
And everyone starts laughing because, oh, I'm sorry, man. And I'm like, yeah, you're sorry. I'm here sweating because I know if we might be on the hook for a pretty big fine. But yeah, you're not ready for that one. More controlled
If that was David Dare would have just run out the room, man.
We would have never seen him again.
Like, I didn't do it, and I don't know who was there.
He's going to another country. He is changing his name.
That's our Integrated Media headlines of the day, 803-948-8327. Call Integrated Media. Get ready for football season. They're better than everybody when it comes to home theater. Integrated Media. We'll get you some poll results on the other side of the break. It's the Postgame Show. 20 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. One other thing we did not get to in the headlines, and it's because I didn't check my email in time to see that this had come out while we've been sitting here yapping about football most of the day and some women's basketball stuff with Brad. But speaking of that, Brad knows now that he's got these following home games to be calling this coming season. South Carolina women will host East Carolina November 17, Duke on December 5th, South Florida December 15th, Charleston Southern December 19th, then 10 days off for Christmas. You got Wofford on December 29, and Connecticut will come to Columbia on Sunday, February the 16th. So there you go. Most of the non-con is done. Diana's release says some games still to be announced, but you got games with Michigan and NC State on neutral courts. You're going to UCLA. That's pretty cool. I imagine out there, Elijah, I don't know if you agree, you play UCLA on a Sunday, November 24. I would imagine Dawn would like to add another game out west while she's out there.
Oh, yeah. Make it worth your while. Even though that game against UCLA will be a big, big game. I have a feeling UCLA will probably be preseason top 5, 6, 7 maybe in the country in that range. They have a pretty good roster coming back. That was a really good team last year.
I could see Dawn maybe adding a game before they play UCLA. You got a game with East Carolina Sunday, November 17, and then Sunday, November 24 in L.A. So maybe before that, because on Thanksgiving, they're going to be playing in that thing at Fort Myers. So you're going to be flying all the way from L.A. to South Florida.
That's a lot of flying.
That's a long way. And then they'll play Purdue down there as well. And then they'll go to Fort Worth to take on TCU on December the 8th. It's a good schedule, man.
It's a really good schedule.
Yeah.
TCU is going to be solid, too.
Haley Van Lith.
That's right.
Who did not look good yesterday as the U.S. 3-on-3 women's team lost to
Men's
Germany.
and women's 3-on-3 team got beat. Jimmer Fredette led his country down.
So our poll question today, I'm just going to leave that one alone. Go Jimmer. Jimmer can score, man. Pick up basketball ain't what it used to be.
And it wasn't close. Serbia clubbed them.
Yeah. And it got physical, yeah. That American team was not ready for that.
They were not built for that.
They were not. I watched that, and they were not. They got beat.
I don't care if you're playing 3-on-3, 5-on-5, 10-on-10 illegal basketball. This is we should be sweeping here.
Today's poll question, greatest moments in Gamecock sports history. Poll number 3. Which of these moments your favorite? Brought to you by Columbia Craft. A, women's basketball title this past season, undefeated champions. B, the football win versus number 1 Alabama back in 2010. C, the Jadeveon Clowney hit versus Michigan in the Outback Bowl. That was the 2013.
January 1st of 2013.
Yeah, 2012 season. Yeah, 2012 season. Officially New Year's Day, January 1 of 13. And then finally, the Camila Cardoso out of nowhere three-pointer versus Tennessee to preserve the undefeated season. That was the semifinal of the Southeastern Conference tournament up in Greenville. So right now, Alabama win at 43.5%. Undefeated women's basketball championship slightly ahead of the Clowney hit at 23.6 to 23.3%, with Camilla's 3 at 9.6%. We talked to Brad Muller
Very thin margins
about that earlier. I said, Brad, I want you to pretend that you're talking to your grandchildren, which he has none of yet. Brad's family is still very young. And he said, I still can't believe they didn't guard the inbound pass or Camilla.
Fair points.
And it does make you wonder why they didn't at least guard the passer.
Make Raven have to make a tough pass.
Yeah.
This is one of many reasons that Kelly Harper is no longer the coach.
I suppose that's fair. And you and I were talking. I've talked about that a lot. Again, the look on her face before the play is one of just like not genuine joy, but there was relief.
Because South Carolina missed a shot. I think it was Raven missed a shot. Tennessee got the rebound. They were up 2, getting ready to go to the free throw line, have a chance to put it up 4 with less than 10 seconds left.
Missed both.
That should have been ball game.
Yeah.
Should have been it.
Missed them both.
And the shot of her on the sideline before that, and in that arena, because there are a good amount of Tennessee ball fans there too.
Yeah.
I mean, they travel really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could feel like this was the game.
Yeah.
Like that was it. Like you're like, oh,
finally.
well, they got beat. Yeah, they like it. Yeah. I'm sitting here like, oh, I guess this is how the undefeated streak ends.
Yeah.
I guess you're going to be going into the tournament with a loss.
Yeah.
Not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast, says Coach Corso. And then the look on her face, bless her heart, when that thing went in.
I mean, she knew right then and there she was not returning next year. I think she knew pretty damn well what that shot indicated for her, unless things changed dramatically in that instance.
I'm gonna go deep cut Simpsons here, and I hope I describe it right. But if y'all remember the episode where Ralph it's an old one. Ralph has a crush on Lisa, and he's like giving her the Valentine, and he invites her. Yeah. He invites her to like the awards show, because his dad got the tickets, and Ralph's all VIP, and he's impressing Lisa. So it's on television, and like Lisa like embarrasses him in front of God and everybody on television. And Bart, he tapes it. So he comes back later. And he goes, you can actually see the moment where like Ralph's heart bursts.
he's frame by frame,
and he goes, like that. And that's. Bless her heart. You could do that with Kelly. Like you could see on her face like the moment of like, oh no, we didn't win.
The moment, yeah, you could tell her like that feeling, like with extreme disappointment, where your heart's in your throat and you're about to start like sobbing. You could like she was that on the side.
Yeah, I felt
the minute that ball went in.
It was unbelievable, man. It still is.
It's one of the more bonkers basketball games I've ever covered.
Yeah.
I've covered a lot of weird, wild basketball games at various levels, and that's one of the more memorable ones.
Right.
That was just, it was nuts. I guess is really the only adequate way to describe that.
Alan hit us a little while ago. Says he voted for beating #1 Alabama, Garcia's greatest Gamecock performance ever. Yeah, Alan, it was, and it's one of the reasons, and not to be Debbie Downer here. It's one of the reasons why a guy like me gets really mad sometimes at Steven Garcia, because so much of that was there if he had just done it. And there are times when you just get really frustrated at knowing that
there could have been more.
Basically, he alone kept himself from being that guy. I know y'all have heard me say it a bunch if you've listened to me for a long time on these airwaves, and I go all the way back to when Steven was, when Connor was still active. But I sincerely, I don't say he would have, because I can't do that. But if Steven Garcia could have approached football the way Connor Shaw approached football, Steven Garcia is at bare minimum, in my opinion, a finalist in New York for the Heisman Trophy, because he was a gifted physical specimen, gifted. But he didn't care enough. And I know he's a hero to a lot of people, and I'm not here to say that he's not. I mean, again, moments like that, but that's the unfortunate part. Whereas Connor had moments, but Connor had sustained success because he worked his tail off.
Oh, he's also an overachiever.
Yeah.
Just by looking at him and what he was. Like, I think he overachieved with what he had.
Heck, man, give me 2/3 of Connor's work ethic and approach and apply it to Steven Garcia, and I might tell you he could be a Heisman finalist, because the kid was great, but
immensely talented.
he just didn't. I just didn't care enough. So I hear you, Alan. Great, greatest performance ever, but it seemed like that he peaked, and by middle of the following season, he was done, man. Literally.
It hit the fan.
Done. Drive around the SEC on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Time to tell you about our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. You might have one of your youngins about to head off to college in another part of the country or part of the state, or might even be right here in town. They got a new vehicle, or you need to get them something that you know is reliable to get to and from and back home. There is no better place than your local Palmetto Citizens branch to finance that next vehicle. They offer the same low rates on all new to 2021 models, great options for older vehicles as well, and many of these plans come with no payments for up to 90 days. They can also finance more than 100% of the retail or purchase price on new to 21 models, and they offer additional coverage and insurance options that dealerships cannot beat. So do yourself a favor. Check with Palmetto Citizens before you finance anywhere else and see how much you can save. Learn a lot more right now when you log on to palmettocitizens.org. Achieve your potential.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways this Wednesday afternoon. We'll start with some good news, though, and that's that in Lexington County, an incident on 20 eastbound at Bush River Road near exit 63 has been cleared. So traffic's moving pretty smoothly through that area. We still have some active accidents, though. They're causing some active traffic jams. One on North Main Street at Wilkes Road, another one on Kitty Wake Drive near Orchard Hill Drive, one on I-77 at US 21 and exit 24, one on I-20 westbound. This one's going to be near Fairfield Road and exit 70, one on Fontaine Road at US 1 and 2 Notch Road, one on Fernandina Road at Piney Grove Road, and lastly, one on Bluff Road and Highway 48 near I-77.
It is Drive Around the SEC time here on a Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. We had the story earlier about Carolina losing out on a young man named Jaden Breaker, a linebacker from the Atlanta area, 3-star, flipping to LSU over the weekend. The number 684 ranked prospect, number 74 linebacker in the country, according to the On3 composite. So, again, you never want to lose a kid, and if you wanted him and he committed to you, then that's something. As Elijah and I mentioned earlier, you'd like to think you could get somebody in the top 500 or 600 to replace him, and don't sweat it too much. But it did get me to wondering where the current 2025 class rankings are. So here's what we're going to do. I'll give you the 1 through 16. Weird. For the Southeastern Conference, and I'll tell you where these schools are from a national perspective as well. Alabama is tops in the conference, number 2 in the country. There will be a quiz. All right?
Study up.
There will be a quiz. LSU, number 2 in the conference, 3rd in the country. Georgia, 3rd in the conference, 4th in the country. Auburn is 4th in the conference, 6th in the country. Tennessee, 5 and 8. Now I'm going to do it that way just to brevity. A&M, 6 and 10. Oklahoma, 7 and 13. Texas, 8 and 15. Missouri, 9 and 16. Kentucky, 10 and 21. Ole Miss, 11 and 26. South Carolina, 12 and 27. Arkansas, 13 and 28. Florida, 14 and 33. Mississippi State, 15 and 48. And God bless you, Vanderbilt, 16th and 67th in recruiting right now.
Ooh.
So a little
nasty work.
Log jam right there with Mississippi, Carolina, and Arkansas, 26, 27, 28 in the country, and 11, 12, 13 in the conference. Now, you may be wondering, all right, what about the scores? How much separation is there? Again, I'm not going to get into how they come up with all this, but the score that Alabama has next to them right now in the On3 industry ranking, which, again, takes into account multiple recruiting services, 93.665. You want to go down to that log jam where Carolina is. Carolina's at 87.845. Ole Miss is about about a tenth of a point ahead of them at 87.919. Kentucky about a half point ahead of that at 88.487. So some distance between Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and then about a point down. So, again, look, sometimes it's just the difference in 1 or 2 kids or a 4-star and a 3-star. Take these things as you will. Carolina was doing well early. Auburn, I know, has accelerated of late. But, I mean, you have to know that Bama and Georgia and LSU are ultimately going to be there. I think one of the interesting things right now, Elijah, and I'm serious about this, is Florida down at 14. Right now, we know negative recruiting is very much a thing in college football. And you've got to believe that schools are telling the majority of kids that Florida's going after, whether it's an FSU going after them, Bama going down there, Georgia, whomever. Hey.
A lot of people recruiting down there.
He ain't going to be there next year, don't you?
And you saw what happened at Jaden Rashada, so
yeah.
Can you believe anything they say in terms of NIL deals or anything like that?
I know I asked you to pull up a cut, but if you would, we have today's cut list, Elijah, number 11 on today's cut list. Speaking of,
I think every year you got to set a problem.
Yeah, set that up.
I was going to say, that's fine. This is Billy Napier being asked about his job security this week.
I think every year you got a set of problems, whether you lack momentum or you have momentum, whether you've had a great offseason and you've coming off of a fantastic year, or maybe you struggled and didn't quite perform the way you'd like. you got to view each team as its own entity and kind of try to be objective about how you make decisions. Look, with leadership comes tough decisions, right? And I think every good movie, every good story, has challenges, right? So we're right in the middle of this one. And I'm hopeful that the things we've done to make change will help us perform better. But I'm going to tell you, I'm a firm believer that sometimes you need to go through struggle, and we've done that. And I'm hopeful that it will be rewarding when we do accomplish some things of significance. So, one thing about this game, I tell you, just big picture here from a perspective standpoint, this game, like most careers, are conditional, and I'm a person of faith, and there's an unconditional element out there to life too. So I think it gives you some perspective at the same time.
Anytime you're reaching for the divine at the very end of your "I'm here to save my job" spiel, that's probably not the best vote of confidence.
He's making a lot of money. He's going to be just fine.
He'll be okay.
But Florida shouldn't be out of the top 20 in recruiting rankings ever. And they're out of the top 30 right now.
That's what got Dan Mullen fired, is that he basically stopped recruiting for a little bit. That man was quiet quitting before that term was even formalized or used in the workplace. That man quiet quitted for a little bit.
Host Miami, host Samford, host A&M to start, do the Gators. At State, host UCF. A lot of reasons to think they can be 5-0. And there's a real case to be made that they could be as bad as 1-4. And hell, the way Samford played in Gainesville a couple of years ago.
Where no one could stop each other.
Again, remember Florida? We talked about it the other day, I think. Florida finally stopped Samford like twice late. Samford literally never stopped Florida, if I'm not mistaken. I think Florida scored 70 points and had 10 possessions.
Every time Florida touched the ball, they scored. This would have been in 2021 with a final score of 70-52.
Yeah.
In football.
Yeah. Then they go to Tennessee, host Kentucky, Georgia game, obviously the cocktail party. In Austin after that, host LSU, host Mississippi, go to Florida State. We know they got some players, man. But, I mean, we should do the thought exercise thing we did earlier on this Florida schedule. Like the Miami game.
Oh, man. I want to do that. Yeah, I want to do that real quick. Just,
again, A&M. I look at Florida playing A&M like, well, you got to beat A&M in Gainesville. Like, you have to, right?
That's a must.
UCF. I mean, the Knights will come, Gus will have those guys hungry, but you're Florida. You got to win that game. At Tennessee is going to be real hard for Florida, but Florida does okay in Knoxville. Kentucky comes to you. You got to win that game. Georgia's going to beat you, I think. Texas is going to beat you, I think. LSU will probably come into your house. If LSU's rolling the way we think they could be, they'll beat you. Then, I mean, how crazy is it that the final home game, at that point, Elijah, Scott Strickland just needs to come to the field during the handshake when Ole Miss beats Florida at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium and have like one contract for Lane to sign right there while he's ripping up Billy's with a buyout check.
And then they can bully him to the point where you can see his heart burst. The moment you see Billy's heart burst is when Lane's signing that contract.
The most surreal
right
scene in the history of sports right there. Billy will faint, and Lane will use his back to sign the contract. I'm pulling for you, Billy, but it's going to be tough, man. But I don't know what that said about his job. We'll see. That's the Drive Around the SEC brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Final poll results from our perspective coming up. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of this Wednesday edition of the Postgame Show. Do want to remind you the ultimate season ticket giveaway is back. It's your chance to win season tickets to see every Carolina home football, baseball, and basketball game, men's and women's. It's brought to you by the Men's Clinic. Keep listening for more details, and if you want more details, you can look for the ultimate season ticket giveaway graphic on the homepage, 1075thegame.com. All right. Speaking of online stuff, I'll toss it over to Elijah Campbell for updated. You still have time, so it's not final poll results. That's why I said final results for today from our perspective, because we're about to leave the air. But you have a few more hours. So, again, phone the neighbors, wake the kids.
You have 6 hours and about 9 minutes here left.
This one's a little tighter.
Vote. Yeah, and this one's, especially for second place, which is going to matter because tomorrow we will do a consolation poll.
Friday,
just kidding. Whoa, yeah. Don't ask me why. I've been thinking it is at least
because you're just ready to go to the weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
Don't waste your life away. Somebody told me that once.
Like a lot of us. But Friday, that's what we will do. So the second place matters. But for today, greatest moments in Gamecock sports history since 2000, poll number 3 of 4. And I just realized that the typo I made in the tweet, too. I said, which if these legendary South Carolina sports moments is your favorite? Grammar, kids. Sponsored by Columbia Craft on Green Street, famously hopped. Number 1, the football win versus Alabama in 2010 at 43.2%. Tied for second, we have a tie, is the women's basketball undefeated championship game versus Iowa and the Jadeveon Clowney hit versus Michigan, both at 23.6%. And then in last place right now is Camilla's 3 against Tennessee in the 2024 SEC tournament to help preserve the special undefeated season. That's at 9.5%. As of now, we are at 419 votes. Again, 6 hours and about 8 minutes left until this poll expires.
All right, there you go. If you missed it again earlier today, the United States men's basketball team did beat South Sudan, but only by 17. So I hope none of you had that minus 29.5. Because Elijah almost did, and then he didn't.
Yep.
Which is good.
Divine intervention.
You feel better, don't you?
Made me forget to make a call.
Because Elijah was mad.
I was mad at myself.
I can't believe it. Because right when he's like, I didn't take advantage of that.
The realization hit that I didn't make a call that I would normally make.
That's right.
So it saved me from losing money.
That's right. If you will, and this is the first time Elijah's been with me on a show on July the 31st, but many of you who have listened to me on these airways for a long time have heard me do this before in some form or fashion, but this is the first time I've done it on this program. But July 31st is an amazing day in the life of the Phillips family. It was on this date in 2008 that my youngest child was born very, very early and was in the NICU for nearly 2 months. And it was also the same day, about an hour and a half after my daughter was born, that my wife became cancer-free after major cancer surgery. Yes, she was pregnant. And had cervical cancer all at the same time. And I can still remember my bosses back then, Bill McElveen and Brent Johnson, and my amazing co-hosts who were like brothers to me still, Deuce Staley and Michael Haney, making sure that I was good. We were up in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And everybody checked in as often as they could. I got wonderful support from the audience. Back then, I was really nervous, man. I was gone for a long time, and we'd not been on the air a year yet. You know, you don't worry about work, but my bosses let me know that I was good, and my co-hosts let me know they had it locked down. And as I always tell people, everything's great now. If you see my wife and daughter, and many of you know them, they are great. My daughter is a soccer player and a cross-country runner. My wife is as active as she's been in terms of everything that she does to be her. But I always want to remind people, go get yourself checked. If my wife had not been pregnant, she wasn't due for a checkup for many, many months. And who knows, man, right? Like, who knows? That's one of the things that I always tell people. So make sure that you're looking out for yourself. Make sure you're hugging people around you because you don't always know what's next. But on July 31st every year, we get to celebrate 2 amazing things in my family. And I know a lot of people celebrate things like that, but more than anything else, I try to pass it along, pay it forward. Take care of yourselves and the people around you because not everything is guaranteed in this world. So to my youngest a happy 16th birthday. No, I did not get you a car.
I know what you got, though, and it's really cool. You're going to be really excited. I know what you got.
Yeah.
It was spoiled to me.
And to my wife, I love you more than you could possibly imagine. And so happy everything on July 31st.
Happy awesome day.
It is indeed. Appreciate y'all and everything you do for us here every day, and we will see y'all tomorrow.